What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today we continue to talk literally about a lot of the young leaders on the Jets and how, quite frankly, we are elite at a lot of different positions. We've already talked about guys like Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Remember, I talked about it last week that Sauce Gardner was rated by PFF as the #1 cornerback in all of the NFL. Well, PFF is at it again. Remember how I talk about this offensive line, how they are all young, how they are all good? Well, PFF echoes those sentiments. They came out with the best duos of guards on the interior offensive line, and you did not have to scroll down much to try to find the Jets combo at left and right guard. John Simpson, Elijah Vera Tucker were named the fourth best guard duo in all of the NFL by PFF. There you see some of the numbers, right? For Simpson, the overall grade, the run blocking grade, both of them pretty high up. And when you consider that both Simpson and AVT are inside the top 15 or 20, that means both of them are, right? So there's not many combos that can say both of the guards are really at that kind of level. You see not only the run blocking grade for both of them, but just look at how few hits, look at how few sacks were given up by both of them. I mean, for Simpson, he allowed only 6 hits and only 3 sacks on 682 snaps where the quarterback goes back to pass. For Elijah Vera Tucker, right, only 4 hits on the quarterback, 4 sacks in 619 pass blocking snaps. I think this is really important. I think also this gives Justin Fields a better offensive line than he has ever played with before in his time in Chicago specifically, right? When you also put together Tippmann at center and then also these bookend tackles that we are really excited about, the first round overall pick last year, Olufashanu, and obviously this year's #7 overall pick in Armand Membu. I think it really solidifies the Jets, and I'm not the only one saying it, okay? PFF, who does a lot of rating, does a lot of grading out there, says it as well. These guys are young. These guys are strong. It's going to help Justin Fields. It's going to help the run game. And Breece Hall, who we have talked about here on Jets Latest, who the Jets ran for the second fewest yards all in the NFL last year. That is going to change, helping not only the run game, helping Justin Fields as well. And remember, this really changes everything. I talk about what Saquon Barkley was able to do with that Giants offensive line versus then when he went to the Philadelphia Eagles. You look at the contenders in the NFC, Philadelphia, Detroit, all anchored by strong offensive line. So PFF continuing to dole out the praise for members of the green and white. Then let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. Right? We talk about Sauce Gardner all the time. Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2-time All-Pro, how we expect him to get that contract extension and get paid. A lot of praise goes to Pro Bowl caliber defensive lineman Quinnen Williams. But let's not forget about his brother, Quincy Williams, who quite frankly was a first-team All-Pro himself in 2023. And what I want to talk about here is he still leverages the mentorship, the kind of support from former Jet CJ Mosley. Listen to what he had to say recently. He goes, CJ came to my camp this weekend, so we had a conversation. He's still in New Jersey, so we've grabbed lunch a couple times. Right now, it's the mindset of picking his brain on how to be more of a leader. It was like, what are the things that you worked on? How did you become a leader to those guys? I think that's interesting, right? We have leadership. We have literally all pro caliber talent at every level of the defense, on the defensive line, with guys like Quinnen Williams and even the kind of sack potential of Will McDonald, who a lot of people are saying is going to take a step forward. Quincy Williams at the linebacker level, along with guys like Sherwood, who was literally top 3 in the NFL in tackles last year. And then, of course, with Sauce Gardner in the defensive secondary, right? So there you also can see some of the stats on Quincy Williams, which quite frankly are really strong. Not only was he that first team All-Pro, but he forced turnovers. He forced 4 fumbles last year, second most among linebackers in the NFL. And then there's also that consistency there, right? He had 116 tackles last year. That is his 4th straight season of 100 or more tackles. And then you got Sherwood also, who was literally, like I said, near the tops of the league in tackles, right? So we are young and elite at all of these levels. One question may still be about quarterback, right? A lot of people are wondering, is Justin Fields going to take that step forward? Well, there's a lot of people out there that are starting to talk about it and starting to realize that maybe Aaron Rodgers, the guy we had before, wasn't necessarily a step up from what we expect now out of Justin Fields. And quite frankly, don't just talk to me here on Jets Latest. Don't just talk to people with green and white colored glasses on, right? I think the same can be said for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Adam Schefter had some interesting things to say. You know, Schefter kind of reporting for ESPN, a great kind of insider out there. Listen to what he had to say about the Steelers' mentality, the Steelers' priorities, the Steelers' kind of preferences going into quarterback for this offseason. He goes, let's also remember that this was the third option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were in on Matthew Stafford, couldn't get a trade done. They tried to re-sign Justin Fields, but he opted to go to the New York Jets. After they couldn't get a trade for Stafford or re-sign Fields, they pivoted to Aaron Rodgers. He was their best choice right now, but their third choice, and he becomes the third best quarterback in the AFC North behind Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. I think that's interesting because a lot of people are just saying, oh, Aaron Rodgers is obviously better. But let's remember something, okay? He is now, at this point, like a good 4 or 5 years removed from that elite MVP level play. Since then, he has had an Achilles tear. Since then, he has had his 40th birthday, right? Like, we haven't really seen 40 plus something Aaron Rodgers actually be at that level that people perceive him to be at and perceive him to be. And again, I'm glad the circus has gone elsewhere. Can you just see all of the kind of development, all of the establishing of culture that has happened since we signed Justin Fields in March? We have had now 2, 3, 4 months of building that culture, installing kind of the scheme, installing the brand, installing Justin Fields as leader of this team, while Aaron Rodgers decided to literally wait until the business day before mandatory minicamp to kind of plop himself into the building, okay? So we appreciate all that Aaron Rodgers did, even though it wasn't that much except get that dead cap hit money a little bit. And we've got Justin Fields, and we will see it in week 1. Here's the other thing. For Pittsburgh, it's a 1-year deal. They're going to be on that merry-go-round again. We now have a solidified answer that we believe can be the long-term answer as our quarterback in Justin Fields. We're protecting him with an elite offensive line. We have a good to great defense on the other side of the ball and all sorts of familiarity for Justin Fields with guys like Josh Myers, Jeremy Ruckert, and of course, G5, his number 1 receiver on the outside. That'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. Remember, as always, to watch these videos, like these videos, subscribe to the Jets Latest channel, and tell a friend to get down, because this is a very exciting season for the green and white. We've got mini camp going on this week, mandatory mini camp, so we're going to hear more, we're going to see more, and we will be talking about it here on Jets Latest. But if you want more about the NFL, about fantasy sports, about baseball, the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, I, as you know, am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM Channel 87. That is the fantasy channel where we do a lot more than talk about just the Jets, Jets. So if you want to become a better sports gambler, a better fantasy sports player, check for me out there on that as well. But if you are locked into the green and white and are starting to get excited as we get into June, as we get into summertime, and you realize that football is on the horizon, keep it locked right here to Jets Latest. We will be back every day, including tomorrow, continuing to talk about what we see at minicamp, what we hear at minicamp, and why this is primed to be an ascending new era for the green and white. That'll do it for this episode. We will see you tomorrow right back here on Jets Latest. But for now, we out of here.